Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and thank you very much for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning alongside the very amazing, the very superb Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Shiza. How are you today?
Assalamu alaikum, first of all,
Walaikum
and I'm
assalam.
doing absolutely great. What about you?
Well, I think that I'm a little thirsty. I'm sorry that I actually have to say that too as well. But we definitely hope that everybody, every Muslim out there, whoever is fasting, that your fast is actually going superb so far. Well, it hasn't been really that much of time during the day, but we certainly want you guys to remember us in your prayers too as well.
Definitely.
But other than that, Shiza, I think that now I've been accustomed to the fact that it's Ramadan,
Yeah.
and finally the body is accepted that that
Right.
the body is going to stay hungry for a longer period of time. But even then, ladies and gentlemen, the very start of the program, we have been actually inviting Mr. Imran Sandhu Saab, who's a scholar. So there's a conversation going with him, and then we definitely have been joined by somebody very amazing.
Yeah.
She's renowned all over Pakistan and internationally too as well. I'm very sorry for kind of stuttering early in the morning,
No,
just
that's
because the
totally
fact
all
that
right.
my tongue is very dry today.
I know that's totally all right. And with her, I feel like we've already done to the first episode of Ramadan this
Yes.
time, right? And we started speaking about how our amazing religion, Islam, actually empowers women in so many different roles. That was definitely a general discussion, right? But
Exactly.
today we have picked up on one role, women as a mother in
Yeah.
light of Islam. And that is
Exactly,
what
and
we're
that's what
talking
we're
about.
talking about. But then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, I've witnessed it myself that when kids they grow up,
Yeah.
when they reach an adult age. So what happens is that the mothers they really feel like helpless as well at times.
Right.
It is just because of the fact that kids actually start to decide for their own selves what they want to do in life, what they want, what they probably do not want, and so what happens is that it is harder for mothers to adjust. Even though I've
Right.
seen that mothers do not utter a single word to their kids,
True.
as in, for example, what might be their likes, what might be their dislikes, and whatnot. And I think it's such a bond where it's just mothers are very forgiving. But then at the same
Absolutely.
time, I think there's a larger responsibility on kids to make her feel special, to make her feel that she's done so much for them in their life, and we tend to forget that. So I
Yeah.
think that this is something which will remind you all. And what a beautiful month to do that, and what a beautiful bond to actually cherish.
Absolutely.
So, to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by somebody who is definitely an Islamic teacher, a scholar. She's none other than Dr. Kaisser. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. How are you?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you
Alhamdulillah.
very much for joining us. So, ma'am, I've actually given my introduction, and this is what happens. This is what we have seen. This is what happens in my house too as
Yeah.
well. I kind of hug my mother quite a lot of times, and I tell her that it's not you, it's us now. And the sole reason why I tell this to her is that half of the time I feel that for example, that she's left alone,
Right.
or while we're going out, we do ask her, but then mothers are usually like, nahi main nahi jana, mainu kam hai. But I think that within their own hearts they do feel like coming along us and
True.
cherishing all of those moments.
Yeah, true. When we talk about motherhood, I think we need to have 4 taglines with us.
Go ahead.
We need to remember the moment we think of mom, we have to think of home, heart,
Food.
and security. I would say security and
Right.
acceptance.
Yeah.
So everything comes with that. I know you're fasting and you're thinking of your iftar at that time. But the important thing is that we always associate mothers with home.
Yeah.
So this is empowerment for us, that the mothers who are there, who are working 24/7,
Yeah.
they cannot quit. They don't get paid. They sometimes don't even get cherished for what they're
Acknowledged
doing.
even,
Yes.
yeah.
We need to sort of remind mothers through this platform in the month of Ramadan, and also in our individual homes, the importance they have for us.
Right.
Because somehow we do not realize the importance of motherhood till we actually land in that position ourselves. We are the parent, and then we see and we are able to empathize with her.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
building up on that, ma'am, you're a mother too as well, alhamdulillah. So, I just want to ask your experiences. I mean, for example, I said that, there are moments when I'll go back home, and I have to leave for some place, and then I'll ask my mom, oh, Maji, aapne chalna hai, something, would you want to come? And then, I don't know, but I think that, she's still thinking about my comfort,
Yep.
whether I'll be fine with her or not. And then she just kind of, declines my offer every time. But I feel at times that, within her heart, she really wants to come along.
Yeah.
Why can't they just say it on my face and, let it be that?
Because I think mothers, they have done so much for their kids, and the kind of love they have for the kid, it just overflows
Yeah.
to such an
Right.
extent that all the time they're looking at what will give comfort, pleasure, and happiness to their kids. And so when it comes to the return, they want same kind of pampering.
Yeah.
Right.
They want the
That's true.
pampering at same level. But amazingly, when we see the concept of Quran,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we find out that when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talks to parents, He says, for
Yeah.
you, the kids, you have to be warned about your love for the kids.
Yeah.
And to the kids, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala reminds them, take care of your parents.
Exactly.
Because the parents will automatically do that.
Yeah,
Right.
but I'm sorry that I have to ask this question, but why do you think that mothers love the youngest one the most?
I feel that's the
and this is debatable. Either it's the eldest one or the youngest one. So
I think this is the
since
debate
I'm a
which-
middle child, so I've
I'm a
always
middle
felt
child.
that as well, and she's a middle child too.
You have a middle child crisis.
Crisis.
from-
Everyone says that. But
Okay.
Dr.
I
Kanwal,
think this is a debate that goes on in all the families, and
Yeah.
the kids, they try to blackmail their parents, constantly asking them which one of you.
Yeah,
I mean,
Is the
and
favorite.
they take it for granted that if you are kind of helping any one of them or leaning towards one of them, I feel that what Islam tells us is true empowerment is the moms have to treat all their kids at the same level. And if you ask me as a mother, we do. But the thing is, all the kids have different temperaments. There are kids whom you don't have to say much. You don't have to warn them much, and at the
Or
same
struggle
time,
with.
they just go along with the flow of whatever the mother is asking them to do.
Yeah.
So it's easier to handle them. And then there are going to be kids who would need the
Right.
third one, or the middle one would need
There are- I get it,
a
obviously.
bit of warnings, because they're sort of even squeezed between the
Siblings.
the siblings.
Yeah.
And then you talked about the younger one.
Yeah.
Younger ones, somehow they always look like babies to the
Yeah.
mothers.
they never grow up.
They never grow
That's
up.
And
They
I
never
think
grow
the elder siblings never make them a part of a clan too as well. Most of the time
yes,
that's the
more or less.
That's the problem.
But Dr. Kanwal, lately, this was just probably a few weeks back, my family was shifting to Multan. And you understand there was a lot of packing to do and everything, right? Imagine, from A to Z, everything. And my mom was doing that. And we were just standing there as sisters, trying to help her. And she wouldn't let us. Rather, she'd let us sit and, even cook for us while doing all the packing and managing everything out there.
Sharam nahi aayi.
And I agree. But, the virtue of selflessness, where does that come from?
Yeah, beautiful question.
That's the love that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has given her. And if you look at the Quran, we find in one of the verse, Surah Al-Ahqaf, verse number 15, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا, that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has ordained, enjoined upon the man that he has to have a beautiful relationship with the parents. And then the verse goes on talking about mother.
Yeah.
حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْحًا وَوَضَعَتَهُ كُرْحًا, that what she did was she carried him with hardship, and then she gave him birth with hardship, and then she took care of him for the rest of the time as well. So this is a special bond which develops between a child and a mom before the baby is
Birth,
born.
right.
And I think Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is so kind and merciful to us that if He hadn't given this bond to the mother,
Yeah.
then the survival of all the children would have been impossible.
That's true
You
as well.
cannot stay up the whole night taking care of the baby
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
he's crying,
Absolutely.
he's pooing, and you are cleaning up all his mess. And at the very same time, you're sacrificing your sleep, your own hunger, your own, even sometimes your career choices, your
dreams,
ambitions, your
right.
dreams for the baby. Then you say, these kids are my dream now. This is what I am striving for. And that is why in Islam we find out when Islam empowers women as mothers,
Yeah.
that is when the institution of the family gets stronger.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
And
that's
that is what is missing in the world over situation scenario right now. We see
Right.
mental illnesses, we see sufferings, emotional sufferings, and we see dysfunctional families, because that foundation has become very weak.
Amazing.
Right.
Men
that's-
were always, there were always families and always stories we would hear when the men either are not there, not taking care of the families. But the mother, she always understood her role, and she
Right.
knew that rather than investing in some sort of a overly
Yeah.
romantic relationship
Yeah.
with her husband, she knew she had to invest more in upbringing of her kids.
Right, absolutely. Because
Like
that is
what she's giving out to the society.
That is absolutely true. And ma'am, you know, while we are talking about the value of mother in a family system or in a societal system or anything, I mean, imagine placing paradise under her foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how great is that, right?
And then we come up with this one hadith in which a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he asked, who gets the most share of me,
Yeah.
And who should be the most important person in my life? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your mom, your
Yeah.
mom, your
Yeah.
mom,
Three
three-time mom,
times,
and
yes,
then the
and then
father.
the father,
So when the
absolutely.
mothers come to me and they're like, why do I have to take care of all the load at home, and my husband goes in the morning, comes back at night, he's hardly there for the kids.
Right.
So I tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you 3 times more importance. So you have to put in 3 times more effort.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's like goes in that
And now,
way.
ma'am, there's one more thing, and I definitely want you to speak about it because this is the other side of the picture, and that is that, you know, not everybody is the same.
Yeah.
Not every mother is the same, likewise as well. So eventually, I actually want to know what does our religion say to all those kids who believe that their mothers have not really played a very important role in their lives, or probably they should have prioritized us over their work, career, friendship, or whatever, you know, they were doing while the kids were growing up. So what kind of messages do we get for all of those kids who think that, you know, that
Yeah,
their
we
mother
have
did
a lot of examples like that, and especially now that we have so much pressure of having a career choice.
Exactly.
And being a career woman. Basically, what I usually tell children is that maybe, you know, she didn't want to make that choice because
Yeah.
as a mother she loves you, and even if she's not having, and she's carrying her own baggage,
Yeah.
she might not have been able to express herself, and she went out on job, and I'm pretty sure she had some regrets. So what then again from the Islamic principle is, you don't look at other person, what kind of role that person played, you focus on your role.
Exactly.
So if your mother never came up to you and said, I love you, you can go up to her and hug her and say, I love you, I care about
Yeah.
you. Because whatever you are right now, there is always some share that your mom put in
Definitely.
there.
Exactly.
I mean, like, we don't remember when we were toddlers. We don't remember when we were born. We don't remember. We realize all these things when we are in our teens.
Yeah.
We already have a crisis, identity crisis,
Yeah.
and that's when we start finger pointing to our parents. And maybe that's
true.
the time also when they are at the peak of their career choices,
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
whatever. I mean, like, you need to empathize with
Yeah,
the mothers,
definitely, right.
because that's the bottom line. They were companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who came to him and said that our mother is a non-Muslim, and she curses you, she curses us, and she is giving us a hell of a time. What are we supposed to do with her? And he said, go back and serve her.
Wow. Wow.
So
that is
that's
so
the kind
beautiful.
of, yes, that's what he said. And he said that don't follow the religion that she is asking you to practice,
Yeah.
but you cannot, you have to stay humble in front of her and provide her the best possible service.
Right, that is so beautiful, Dr. Kanwal. But you know, there's a trend of old homes in so many societies, not very popular in Pakistan as of yet, but there are still some, right?
Yeah.
No, there are.
I'll be very honest when I say I feel like I mean, there can be difference of opinion, of course, but I feel like there's a negative connotation to old homes because when they are, I mean, in the end of their lives, I feel like that is when you should be giving back the most. I mean, they spent their lives bringing you up.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them, ma'am? And is this like this should be a part of our lives or not?
I think you have a very valid point over here, because we have to look at a realistic picture.
Right.
From the Islamic perspective, it is a responsibility of the children
Yeah.
when they're grown up that they have to take care of their parents.
Yeah.
And if we look at a lot of laws that exist in Islam, we find out that the material needs of parents, usually the graph goes down. They're more for the emotional needs.
Definitely, yes.
So let's say there is a child who is working, is not able to manage a parent, and realistically speaking knows a place where for the medical reasons or whatever other reasons she's being well taken care of,
Yeah.
and he has to put her there. I'm not saying you have an option to put her over there.
Yeah.
Okay,
The first
okay.
priority is she should be with you. You
Right.
should be taking care of your parent the way she did it for you,
Yeah.
because that's the dua we make. Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. For the parents, we say, oh Allah, please take care of my parents as they took care of me when I was young. And we need to remember when like, you know, they were young, they also wanted to go out, enjoy life, but they sacrificed so much, and they were up whole night, and they were taking care of their kids
Right.
beyond their needs. So that's the important message that Islam tells, that you have to take care of your parents beyond your needs. You can't put your kids in the best schools and expect that I should be putting in old home.
Exactly.
But if you have to, for any reason, the situation arises, you have to put your parents in a place where they'll be well taken care of, then you have to be with them all the time, or maximum number of time. It's not like she's out of your
Send
life.
and forget, right?
Okay,
Yes.
but ma'am, building up on that, there's one thing which I've witnessed, and that is that, the river of love is actually only downstream.
Yeah,
It
is.
never goes back up. So talking about parents, they're going to love their kids more than they've actually loved their parents.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think people have certainly figured out their roles when they become parents themselves, that how important their parents were to them as well.
Right.
What would you say in the light of Islam? How do you think that for all of those kids who really want to give back to their parents, how do you think they can do it? By just telling
Love.
them, by
Telling
doing
them,
something?
acknowledging them,
Yeah.
and feeling proud of them, never hesitating to introduce them to any place. Like, I would like to acknowledge my parents anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
When people say, you speak so well. So I always go back in time when I was in my 4th grade, and my father pushed me to go towards debates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and he would always push me to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And he would always push me to do this and that. And at the same time, my mom, she would always push me towards the moral values.
Yeah.
This is where you can go, this is where you can't go. Despite the fact that she is also a working woman, she's a doctor.
Yeah.
So when you acknowledge your parents in all the places,
Yeah.
in front of them, behind them, they feel proud of you. Then buying them gifts. They don't need them.
Yes, small is just as
Yeah,
counting.
like in Ramadan, you can have your iftar with them. Even if they are
Right.
not fasting, you make them feel, give them this protocol that
Yeah.
we want you on the table.
Right.
Similarly, for Eid, while
Yeah.
you're buying for yourself, your kids, you need to buy those gifts for your parents. And I've seen when you give them some gift on Eid, they have tears in their eyes because they don't need them. They
Not
see
only
that,
on
yeah.
Eid, but every time.
Every time, every day. And
Yeah.
basic is acknowledgement, and yes, making a lot of du'as for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And also facilitating them in their activities. If they want to go out somewhere, they might have health issues, especially when you're grown up.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they might not be able to do many things that they want to do. So remember, like, when you're young and your parents still keep telling you to do one thing or the other, or they go at the level of sacrifice.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? That's the thing that you have to remember.
Right. That
Exactly.
is so
That's wonderfully
beautiful.
said as well. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us. It was wonderful to know all of these things. And ladies and gentlemen, it's the holy month of Ramadan, so I think everybody needs to cherish the most as well, and you're
Definitely.
definitely going to earn more sawab. And inshallah, tomorrow, ma'am, we are actually going to talk about the role of a daughter.
Yes.
Probably, I think
Inshallah,
that's something
yeah.
we can do, or role of a wife. I think that's what I want to talk about.
Right, one of these,
because this is the
definitely.
most cliched subject over here within Pakistan as well. Whenever we talk about wives, people start laughing, people start smiling. I mean, there's a role defined by your religion, so I think that this is very
Definitely.
important and imperative in nature to get to know that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you did learn something from this, please serve your mothers today. Surprise them in any way
Yeah.
possible. And Masuma and my sisters, if you're watching this, you have to make her iftari tonight.
Yeah, and one more thing which I wanted to talk about my mother was that, I mean, no matter what happens, how old I'm going to get, I'm still going to ask you for money. And you can still say no. It's perfectly all right.
Definitely.
So look after yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely we'll be right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. And yes, everybody's fasting, so it can be a tea break. Let's do that. Good morning.
Good morning.
The Faisal Mosque is Pakistan.
Welcome back to World This Morning with Shahzad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, ladies and gentlemen. And today, in the first segment, we definitely celebrated the role and spoke about the role of women as a mother in Islam. Elders, of course, yes, definitely. And when we are talking about mothers and generally about elders, I mean, when you talk about respecting them and giving them the set value that they do have in our societal and even in family system, that only happens when you have a good upbringing.
Exactly.
Right? When you are ethical and moral yourself, right, Shahzad?
And yes, Shiza, I'm going to agree to that, and I think that every other kid who's actually growing up is actually learning by the actions of their parents.
Yes.
So if their parents are actually looking after their own parents as well, I think that the kid is eventually going to learn that how he or she is actually supposed to respect the elderly as well. But other than that, I think, ladies and gentlemen, over here within our religion, Islam actually emphasizes on the role how actually you need to be with your parents and how you need to be with the with the people who are actually younger than you. And the word which has been used is that shafqat ke saath pesh aao, choto ke saath, or izzat se pesh aao, badon ke saath.
Right.
It has a very strong message, and which is why that we've actually picked up in the second half on ethical living. Now, whenever we talk about ethical living, ladies and gentlemen, there are morals, there are norms, there are cultural values, and when we combine them together, I think that it actually becomes all the ethics which you actually portray within your personality.
Should I tell you that is
Yes.
almost the right definition of ethics? In
Well,
religion?
yes, so that's what it is. I'm sorry that I actually even went to school, right? so on a lighter note, Vishita, I'm sorry that if I've been teasing you quite a lot lately, but I never wanted to do that, because in Ramadan you cannot even do that to your colleague. But this is what we were talking about, and there's this one small example which I want to give out, and that is that 6 years back when I was in England, so I went for my back surgery. And I had to call my doctor, and unfortunately, because over here in Pakistan, you can call anybody till midnight.
You're right.
So what I did was that I picked up the phone 6:30 in the evening. I called the doctor and I was like, "Hi, doctor. This is some question. This is something which I need to ask you." And then the doctor goes like, "You can call me at 6 in the morning, but never ever call me again after 6 in the evening." And this was what a beautiful practice. Even Islam tells us to get up early in the morning.
Yes,
get your things sorted, and come back on time, spend time with family. But eventually, I think that we are forgetting quite a lot of things. There's road rage. People do not really have that patience which needs to be in a moment or in a Muslim as well.
Even in Ramzan.
Exactly.
Also
I think in Ramadan it gets worsened too as well. We need to accept the truth over here. But to talk about all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, on my right hand side, we've actually been joined by somebody who's actually going to let us know what is being triggered over here and why do we even start shouting, why do we get frustrated, why do we leave behind all those moral values which we have been given to us by our parents and then by religion as well. She's none other than Miss Mashiat Zahra. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, I'm fine, how are you?
Absolutely perfect, thank you very much for joining us, wonderful to have you. And alongside Miss Mashiat, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by somebody who's an absolutely perfect lecturer, ladies and gentlemen. He happens to be teaching at one of the universities where I went, where I did my bachelor's and master's from as well. He's none other than Mr. Asif Rasool. Hello, assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very
Sir,
much.
thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. And do you think that I should actually call you sir or Mr. Asif Rasool? Because you've been a lecturer to me as well. So
once a teacher, always a teacher.
yeah, always. So sir, I think it's fine.
Talking about this topic, you are perfectly in line with it.
Thank you very much, sir. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, just to spark the flavor of Ramadan, we've been joined by somebody who's a Naat Khwan as well. He's none other than Mr. Mia Muhammad Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Thank you very much for joining us. Let's get the conversation started.
Okay.
Wonderful to have you, and we'll definitely listen to a wonderful Naat towards the end of the show. But I want to start the conversation with Asif Saab over here. Asif Saab, in your words, what is ethical living?
Ethical living is like living in line with your values. Okay. And Alhamdulillah, we are Muslim and we have got the very comprehensive way of life. And we have got to revisit time and again this concept of Islam. And Islam has covered almost every aspect of this code of conduct our life, whether it's personal, the social, professional, in every aspect it covers. And when we just compare it with the Western world, I mean their code of conduct, it keeps changing. But in our case, it's always fixed, and we have got to, it's like kind of beacon of light for us. So whenever there's a problem or there is an issue, so there is a problem as well. Like we have got this complete code of conduct, but when it comes to proper implementation, when Holy Prophet was sent, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says in Quran that you have got to basically develop a state in which you are going to properly practice it. So we have got the state of Medina, where they got all this preaching in Makkah, and he just went on to Medina to properly implement it that as well. So this is how I feel about this.
Okay, but then sir, at the same time, I'm very sorry that I have to say that, but not many people are actually living their life ethically as well. And that too can happen, and people can actually differ to this because of the fact that, my definition of being ethical might be different from somebody else. Right. But Islam tells us, in the light of our religion, we get to know that, it is such a thing where everybody needs to behave the same way and be kind to others. But in today's world, we really do not see that. There's road rage outside, there's robbery, there's theft, there's dacoity, there's people are actually lying to other people, and ethics are nowhere to be seen.
Yes, I fully agree with this. We have got like two sides. Number one is that there are so many people, even in our own country, they are mashallah perfect. They properly are in harmony with this code of conduct. But problem is like when it comes to state level, since we do not have this complete implementation of this code of conduct, so like it gets very difficult for the people. Moreover, we have got so many societal problem, cultural issues. We have got like so many new norms. So people, they tend to forget our own these values. And when it comes to religion, I think the way we have got this worldly education, and we have got different levels as well, for example, school, college, university. Similarly, we have got to learn Islam in the same manner, and then it's going to properly get fixed into your perceptual world, and then you are in the best position to implement it. For example, I can just share from my, I just went through different Holy Prophet's companion life and even Holy Prophet's life as well when it comes to eating habits. So I've been just properly applying these eating habits for last 4 to 5 months, and I've just reduced almost 10 kg weight.
Wow.
And it has improved my efficiency level. So I just looked at one. Second is that even whatever you just take specific, like when it comes to this code of conduct, and you just pick one thing, now you have got to get it fixed and you have got to see. And there are always limits. For example, second thing which I've just imposed on myself, that when I'm on social media, so there are very hot political debates, so it gets very difficult sometime for you to just control yourself. But since you have got to decide, keeping those values in your mind, that this is my limit, I'm not going to hit anyone under the belt. So this is how it beautifully.
So everybody can do that.
Very beautifully said. But coming on to you, Ms. Mashiat, when you talk about ethics, I feel like, right and wrong should be the same for everyone. But my question is, do you feel like there's a global, let's say, system of ethics, or is being ethical contextual depending on cultures and societies?
Okay, now when we talk about the ethics, ethics differ from person to person and culture to culture, and also differ from religion to religion.
Right.
If we are living in abroad, and we are atheists and we are practicing no religion, so their ethics are for the humanity. They are living for humanity. They used to give respect to someone who is elder than them, or they will be loved to help poor. And when it comes to here, if we talk about the scenario in Pakistan, then we will see that we have a code of conduct, as Sir said, that we have a detailed code of conduct and ethical list
Right.
to follow.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we all are not as much good Muslims as we should be. So there come a lacking of our is that we need to know
Right.
that first of all we have to be a good human being than a Muslim. If we try to be good as we need to be
Right.
to be punctual in our timings if we
Yeah.
are going somewhere, so we need to follow that. We shouldn't take for granted that if someone is low in socioeconomic status than us, then we take that person for granted.
Yeah, shouldn't belittle them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because we think that what they can ask us, and we have more value than them. So
Right.
these are some problems within our brain, within our psyche, which
Right.
is inculcated by our parents and the brought up time that we learn that how to deal with the people.
So talk about parenting. How important is that, and what major part does it play in building an ethical system in one's own self?
If we talk about in the light of psychology,
Right.
so early year of our development and the parenting years are very much important, because we have to see that how things are different, and we have to see that what we are teaching to our child.
Right.
We have to see that if we are a parent, we have to know that what we are practicing is affecting our child.
Definitely.
There is a proverb that child don't follow what you taught them; they just practice what
What they
see.
see, absolutely right.
So if being a mother, if someone is not practicing good manners and not treating their servants in a good way,
Yeah.
so definitely the child is going to learn this thing that okay, I don't need to care
They
about.
feel like it's normal
yeah,
to do
it's
so.
normal to do
Yeah.
so. And we have cases that parents are coming to us that our child is not treating us in a good way. So we ask that whether you teach them to treat the lower community
Exactly.
of your homes. They said no, it's not. It's normal.
It's not even important to do so.
It's
Right.
easy to humiliate them. So when they grow up, then a child is getting higher education. If a child is getting education from Oxford, definitely her mother or will be considered as lower to them. So they will not practice that good manners and ethics with their parents.
makes
So
sense.
we need to learn about that
Right.
what we are giving to a child,
Yeah.
it is going to come back to
Right.
And
us.
That's
very
what you
beautifully
preach.
said as well. And one last question from Mr. Asif Rasool as well before we move on to Nath, and that is, now I firmly believe that modesty, humbleness, being thankful to Allah actually helps in living a very ethical life as well,
Yes.
and remembering Allah, fearing Allah in the first place as well. How do you think any individual out there can instill all of these characteristics within their own personality, where they are modest on daily basis and where they are humble on daily basis?
It's a very good question.
Thank you, sir.
I'll
I'm
say
known
that
for this.
like when children, we were just talking in parenting terms. So we have got like two aspects. Number one is what you teach and what you actually practice.
Yeah.
So initially children, they are just observing you. If there is a contradiction, so please do not expect from them that tomorrow they're going to behave in the same manner.
Exactly.
So here, parenting, it's a very, very challenging phenomena inside Pakistan. And basically, parents have got to play a very important role in this regard to just develop a generation who is not going to see, observe any kind of contradiction, and then they are just like full-fledged human beings who are just there to properly implement that. So we have got so many occasions where they see that what they teach us, that's very much, it's in contradiction with what they are practicing it. So I would suggest that we can just start off from like very young age, and after that all the different institutes, they are going to just develop this aspect. And we have to be very clear. For example, what we have got to develop at school level, we should have a like proper format for this, and then what we have got to develop at college and university, then students, obviously they are going to explore themselves and they are going to develop themselves as well. So once they're going to develop it, it's really very
Amazing that is. Thank you very much for being with us. It was wonderful to have you. And before we move on to Mr. Abdullah over here for the Nath, ladies and gentlemen, please do write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well this morning.
on YouTube and Daily Motion.
Well this morning also.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
11 p.m. tonight.
Till the next time, look after yourselves and remember us all in your prayers, ladies and gentlemen. This is that time of the year where we definitely will pledge you or probably urge you or request you to actually pray for all of us as well. So, Mr. Abdullah, what are you going to share with us? क्या सुनाएंगे?
नाच सुनाऊंगा सर।
हाँ जी, सुनाएं।
सल्लल्लाहु अलैका या رسول اللہ وسلم علیک یا حبیب اللہ اپنے دامان شفاعت میں چھپائے رکھنا اپنے دامان شفاعت میں چھپائے رکھنا میرے سرکار میری بات بنائے رکھنا آپ کی یاد سے آباد ہے دل میرا حضور آپ کی یاد سے آباد ہے دل میرا حضور بندہ پرور میری ہستی کو نبھائے رکھنا بندہ پرور میری ہستی کو نبھائے رکھنا میرے سرکار میری بات بنائے رکھنا ذرہ خاک کو خورشید بنانے والے خاک ہوں میں مجھے قدموں سے لگا